hit it harder.
Yeah, I'm gonna figure out about the unless someone as you watch.
Good morning. Just so you know, if we magically end up with another 40 people rushing in at the last minute, which seemed to happen last Sunday, there are masks in little packets on some of the chairs. And if you would like to wear one, we welcome you to take good care of yourself. All right, so I'm going to invite Roz to come up and start us this morning.
I think I technically start us.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Moon on the meadow, bugs in our ears, smoke in our eyes, wet wood and tears. Up on the meadow, water somewhere, we were the only ones there. Wild horse to slushy, dry lakes the peak, finding the love there everyone seeks. Hiking out to rainbows, sunsets and stars, just finding out who we are. We shall return there some lucky day. Our hearts will guide us, they know the way. People in cities don't understand, falling in love with the land. Moon on the meadow, bugs in our ears, smoke in our eyes, wet wood and tears. Up on the meadow, water somewhere, with you, my friend, I am there.
Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Utica. I'm Roz Kearney, a member of the board. Whether you are visiting for the first time or have been a member for many years, you are welcome here. Whatever faiths you have known, if any, you are welcome here. Whoever you are and whomever you love, you are welcome here. We are invited to bring our whole selves to this worship service, our doubts as well as our convictions, the pain and joy we have known, our longing for connection and understanding. Every part of you is welcome here. Our congregation acknowledges that the land on which UU Utica is situated is the ancestral lands of the Oneida Nation, one of the original nations of the Haudenosaunee, I'm never going to get this right, or Uticoi people. If you are visiting today for the first time, either in person or online, we are glad you have joined us. We would love to learn more about you and connect with you on our newsletter if you like. There will be a link in the chat to a form that we hope any online visitors would fill out, and we hope you will stay for informal conversation in the breakup groups after the service. Soul Matters groups will be starting up on Tuesday, October 11th. Anyone who would like to join or wants more information can see John Camilleri or Jack Pendrick. Let us open our hearts and minds to the experience of community and the wisdom of love.
These are the words from Osho, who is was a mystic teacher in India. When the mind knows, we call it knowledge. When the heart knows, we call it love. When the being knows, we call it prayer. As we light this chalice, we give thanks for the gifts of knowledge, of love, and of prayer that have come through the ages and from around the world to grace our lives. I'm going to invite you to join me in singing a very simple song, and it is on page 1010 in the blue. It can be sung in so many ways, but what I'm going to invite you to do is sing it quietly at first, and then we'll increase the volume on the third time around, and hopefully it will move from feeling like a quiet welcome to a glad you're here. And so if you would rise in body or spirit or both, would you hit the note for me, Melissa?
Oh, we give thanks for this precious day, for all gathered here and those far away, for this time we share with love and care. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day.
One more time.
Oh, we give thanks for this precious day, for all gathered here and those far away, for this time we share with love and care. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day.
Thank you. I think that is good. And have a seat. Kenneth Patton was a Unitarian Universalist minister who had a tremendous influence on our Unitarian and Universalist denominations. He died in 1994 and was a poet whose influence is still being felt. One of the things that I love about Kenneth Patton was that there was one of the churches where he ministered, his congregation, and he designed the sanctuary so that the earth, there was a painting of the planet on one end and images of the solar system in between here and the back, and in the back was much more of a galactic feeling. It was placing us all right in the universe as understanding ourselves as belonging to that greater space. So he writes, "Let us worship with our eyes and ears and fingertips. Let us love the world through heart and mind and body. Let us worship with the opening of all the windows of our being, with a full outstretching of our spirits. Life comes with singing and laughter, with tears and confiding, with a rising wave too great to be held in the mind and heart and body to those who have fallen in love with life. Let us worship then, and let us learn to love." The focus of this service is on prayer. And one of the things that I brought with the thought that the children might like to be part of it, and in fact, if any of you as an adult would like to be part of it, you're welcome to go back to the table. But I brought things that you can make a prayer flag with, or prayer banner. But what I've got up here is a rainbow prayer flag that has images of things that evoke a sense of connection and love. And in the back, there are little prayer flags that have the Tibetan Buddhist prayers written on them. And we were just talking about this in our gathering of folks who are going to join our community in October. Well, this is October. Wow, the end of this month. And talked about how the experience of being around prayer flags that have been hanging for a long time is one where you get a sense that the threads are flying through the air and the prayers are being taken wherever that wind goes. And so Whoever would like to participate in creating prayer flags is welcome to do that. I was one of those kids who, when we were invited to bow our heads and close our eyes in prayers, I opened my eyes and I looked out the window. The leaves of the trees were a prayer to me, and sometimes the brilliant yellow and blue of the stained glass windows were prayer. No surprise that I'm a Unitarian Universalist who thrives in this liberal faith. Liberal faith meaning that we question, we search for truth and meaning in different places. We experiment and we fail, and we experiment some more, all in the effort to find more and deeper truth, to live in greater covenant, to learn to love ourselves and others, and to make a positive difference in the world. Most of us as Unitarian Universalists reject the idea that praying can somehow replace the human responsibility to act on our beliefs in the world. Many of us do not pray at all, and relying instead on our human capacity to think, to change, to make a difference. And some of us do not pray because we react to religious traditions that have done great damage to us and to others. Our faith tradition encourages us to be honest and present with what we believe to be true and with what our experiences have been. This faith makes room, a lot of room, to choose not to pray or to choose to pray. Our tradition also values growth. So if you are curious about whether prayer might help you or others, consider prayer without pressure. This sermon is an invitation to explore prayer as one of the many ways of knowing and being in the world. Noah Ben-Shea is a Jewish author and poet whose quote I borrowed in the book Jacob the Baker. The village bread maker and wise elder is talking with a child who, quote, was filled with a question which like an itch demanded to be scratched. Jacob, the child asks, what I don't understand is how you are to decide whether to follow what you feel is right or what you think is right. Jacob touched his own chest and said, my heart knows what my mind only thinks it knows. The answer pushed the boy to yet another question. Jacob, what if neither my heart nor mind can help me find the way? And Jacob answered, prayer. Prayer is a path where there is none. Reverend Eric Wickstrom is a UU minister and author of the book Simply Pray. He studied prayer across cultures. He writes, I found 4 core elements that are common across the religious landscape. He calls them naming, knowing, listening, and loving. Naming the many ways that the holy and the sacred move in our lives, he says, and in the wider world. Knowing ourselves fully in both our strengths and weaknesses. Listening to that voice of quiet stillness that resides in each of us, and reaching out in loving concern to the world around us. Together, we could explore those different kinds of prayer in workshops or reflecting on books like Simply Pray, and perhaps we will. But for today, I simply invite us into naming as one form of prayer. The element of prayer that Reverend Wickstrom describes as naming the many ways that the holy and the sacred move in our lives and in the wider world. I was raised Methodist, hearing stories of a compassionate God. I prayed at dinner with my family holding hands. To our Heavenly Father is how we began. When that particular Christian definition of God excluded me as a woman and as a lesbian, when my teachers shunned me for challenging the stories, when I stopped being able to claim a particular version of truth as the only truth, I needed to leave that community of faith that I so loved, and I stopped being able to use the name God. Through exploring so many ways of knowing and naming over the decades, I can now hear the beauty and the truth, as well as the pain, in the name God. My decades-long journey of finding my way to prayer was really a long path through the different names of the holy. It was in large part about, and it continues to be, answering the question, to what or to whom do I belong? A culture that teaches us to value individuality over community teaches us to belong to ourselves and does not equip us well to know in our bones to whom we belong. A culture that pushes us into success that's hard to define or is actually unattainable does not help us know our worth or to know our worthiness. A culture that guides us to win solely by gaining power over others does not help us cherish life, and certainly not others, especially across political lines. What if it is true, as I heard on an interview, that part of what drives the increasingly violent polarization of this world may be a drive to belong? To belong, and in that belonging gain agency, get back whatever's missing. Belonging and naming that to which we belong seems core to me. And if we can name that to which we belong in ways that include others rather than excluding them, perhaps there's room for healing. Belonging and naming in ways that include more and more may help us turn around the toxic floods that swamp us individually and in how we relate to others around us. And so in this one way, consider prayer. How do you name to that which you belong? I offer some names, and then I'm going to ask you if you would like to say out loud something to which you claim, you feel you belong, that helps you know that you are part of something larger than yourself. The names I'll offer and let float for you to consider and to be curious about come from many, many places. With humility and an open heart, I name the ancient source of life, the unnameable, yet that which moves in each of us. To whom or to what do we belong? Perhaps to the universal impulse that runs in cycles of life and death and in chaotic endings and beginnings through all that is. Perhaps we belong to our ancestors. Perhaps we belong to all that is and to nothing at the same time, maybe to clear, empty mind and to the chaos. To whom or to what do we belong? What do you claim? Source of love, spirit of community, to one another, to planet Earth. Recognizing our vulnerability and yet our strength and hope in belonging, we name aspects of the ultimate that are personal to us through God, through Jesus, through Mary, through Guan Yin, the compassionate, through the goddess of dark and regeneration. And so in these next moments, I'll offer silence for you to explore your own mind and heart. And if you'd like to say out loud something or someone to who you belong, to whom you belong, and share with others. And so, whether or not you want to speak, take a few moments and just claim what is yours. What is your truth? To whom or to what do you belong? Eternity. Hmm. I know some would say justice, right relationships, the bridge between I and thou, equal rights, family, and in that naming, in the naming of the unnameable, we offer ourselves an invitation, a window to ask for help, to offer love out, to look for clarity. To bring a little more peace, to help ease pain. When caught not knowing, frustrated, stuck in an unhelpful loop, consider to whom you belong. Experiment interrupting the habits that we have developed over time to defend ourselves, to take care of ourselves, to tough it out. Experiment interrupting the habits, maybe with the thought, to whom do I belong? And in that question, we open our hearts and minds for the possibility of partnering with something or someone much greater than ourselves, something like love or community or family. Years ago, I walked by a woman sitting on her porch. She was sanding the legs of a chair, but something in her face made me stop. I knew that if I were sanding the chair, you'd probably see the concentration or the effort, maybe even a grimace on my face, maybe even sweat. But she looked strikingly calm. So I asked her what she was doing, even though she was obviously sanding the leg of a chair. She told me she was praying, which I did not expect. I was so surprised I didn't know what to say, but I never forgot it. And since I have met many others who do the same, and sometimes remember to do that myself. A friend and I try to remember to send good wishes or prayers to people in the cars driving in the opposite direction. It's a way to fend off my own boredom or irritation, and instead invite something different. It orients my heart and my mind while I travel. So how might it change things, even when we feel fine and all seems to be going well? How might it change things if we remember more often to partner intentionally with our ancestors, or with Spirit, or with God? How might it change things if, when walking in a crowd, you remember every one of us is made of stardust of all things, and we belong, every one of us, to the universe? To whom do we belong? We can learn to expect that answer to evolve as we individually and collectively grow and evolve. That we do belong, no matter how that belonging is named. Belonging and offering that belonging to more and more can be an antidote to a hurting world. Naming that to which we belong can become a prayer and a path where there is none for those who seek it. And may it be so for us all. The next hymn is on 1048 in your blue hymnal. Ubi caritas et amor. Ubi caritas Deu ebs is Latin for where charity and love abound, God is there. And as you are able, please stand in body or soul, or both. I'm going to start lower because my voice is in the basement today.
Ubi caritas et amor, ubi caritas Deus ibies, ubi caritas et amor, ubi caritas Deus ibies, ubi caritas et amor, ubi caritas Deus ibies.
Thank you. Community can. I'm going to invite us to settle yourself in whatever way feels like you are settling yourself, returning to yourself, returning to what is true to you. And then I'm going to invite that we say this prayer that has so much meaning to so many. It is the serenity prayer, and you're welcome to say it out loud with me if you'd like. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. And we settle into ourselves knowing that we are not disconnecting ourselves from all that is. We are connecting through our very core, through the brilliance of our minds, through the openness of our hearts, through the resonance of our spirits. There's so many ways for us to return, to know where we belong, to know who we are in the midst of so much confusion and violence. And so here we invite wellness into ourselves, that we may experience well-being, that even though our bodies may be ill, that there are things not going right, that we can align ourselves with what is most true. And each of us carries the weight of knowing what's happening in the world. And each of us needs to find a way to recognize that truth and not let it overwhelm the whole truth. The whole truth that includes beauty, that includes compassion, that includes greater knowledge, greater connection. May we find in our core, each of us, that which will help sustain us, bring us back to ourselves in the midst of so much that we cannot control. And may our connection to one another and to the greater world as it is, may that connection bring us a sense of belonging in a way that We don't have to know all the answers, but that we know we each have our part. And with deep gratitude for the roof over our heads, for the food we will share, for the water that is clean, for the warmth, and for the friendship, we say thank you. Amen. Ashe. And blessed be. What we bring to this congregation as our monetary gifts are really a symbol of our care and our hope that this community will continue, will be present, not just for ourselves, but for others who have not found us yet. And the ushers are coming around to collect your gifts. Beautiful. Hmm. Hmm. I'll invite you to read The Extinguishing of the Chalice, but also to consider that when I'm done with the benediction and the postlude is played, that we are done early and that we could, if you'd like, have a conversation. If you would like to chat, ask questions, not online. We wouldn't push our Zoom folks to do all that technology, but Consider the possibilities. And so, as we extinguish the chalice, please read, "We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, the fire of commitment." The words again from Kenneth Patton. Perhaps prayer, just a whispered name, can help us move in the world with more wonder, more appreciation, more of a sense of connection, maybe even a sense of worship and gratitude. And Kenneth Patton says, let us worship with our eyes and our ears and our fingertips. Let us love the world through heart and mind and body. Let us worship with the opening of all the windows of our being, with the full outstretching of our spirits. May it be so for us all. Thus ends our worship service. We say goodbye to the people on Zoom who will stay in chat rooms, perhaps. Are they in little groups? They're leaving. Goodbye. Okay, that's good. And if you would like to get up and get some coffee, it's across the hall. And if you would like to remain and chat with one another, we can do that. And it's okay if you decide to do one or the other, but I just wanted to invite the possibility as long as it doesn't create chaos for